In a quiet part of New Mexico, near a place called Elephant Butte, there was a trailer that looked like it could belong to anyone. But this trailer was different. Inside, it held a dark secret, a place where terrifying crimes took place, and where one man lived out his twisted fantasies. This is the story of David Parker Ray, a man who became known as the Toy Box Killer. David Parker Ray was not a name most people knew, but the crimes he committed shocked the world. He created a place where pain and fear were carefully planned, where women were held captive and tortured. But this isn't just a story of a killer. It's a story of survival, courage, and the power of the human spirit to overcome evil. Before we begin, please note that this story is graphic and may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. We want to bring you this story in detail so that you understand the full truth, but it can be hard to hear. If you're ready, let's dive into one of the darkest true crime stories in American history. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be able to stay updated on more true crime stories like this one. David Parker Ray was born in 1939 in Belen, New Mexico, but his early years were far from ordinary. His family life was tough. His father was often drunk and violent, and his mother was distant. From a young age, David had to deal with a lot of anger and confusion. As a boy, David didn't have many friends. He spent most of his time alone, which is when he started to develop disturbing thoughts. He began to dream about controlling and hurting others. These weren't just typical childhood fantasies. These were dark, serious thoughts that would follow him into adulthood. By the time David was a teenager, his interests had changed. Instead of playing sports or making friends, David became obsessed with sadistic magazines and drawing pictures of bondage and torture. He started to see women as things to be controlled, objects for his own pleasure, and these thoughts grew stronger as he got older. David went on to work as a mechanic, a job that seemed normal to most people, but it gave him the freedom to build the tools and the place that would turn his fantasies into a nightmare. The toy box wasn't just a name, it was the center of David Parker Ray's twisted world. It was a trailer, a 22-foot-long mobile home hidden in the New Mexico desert. On the outside, it looked like any other trailer, but inside, it was something else entirely. It was a dungeon, soundproofed and equipped with all kinds of horrible tools. The walls were covered with drawings that showed exactly how he planned to torture his victims. There were straps, chains, whips, and even medical tools. In the center of the trailer was a gynecological chair, a chair that could hold a person in place while Ray did whatever he wanted to them. It was a place built for suffering. One of the most chilling parts of the toy box was the tape recordings Ray played for his victims. When he brought a woman into the trailer, he would start a recording. In a calm, almost soothing voice, the recording would tell them exactly what would happen to them. It described the horrors they would face in detail, making it clear that they were completely helpless. David Parker Ray wanted to break his victims, to erase their memories, to make them forget what had happened to them. He even used drugs to make them forget, ensuring that they couldn't identify him later. It was all about control. But not all of Ray's victims were silenced. In 1999, a woman named Cynthia Vigil became one of the most important people in bringing David Parker Ray to justice. Cynthia was 22 years old when she was abducted by Ray and his girlfriend, Hendy. Ray and Hendy tricked Cynthia into thinking she was going to a job interview. Instead, they kidnapped her and brought her to the toy box, where Cynthia was tortured and held captive. For 3 long days, Cynthia endured unimaginable pain and suffering. But on the 3rd day, Cynthia saw an opportunity. She realized that Hendy had left the keys to her restraints in the room. With all the strength she had left, Cynthia managed to escape. She ran out of the trailer, naked and covered in blood, to a nearby trailer park. There, she begged for help. Cynthia's escape was the key to breaking the case wide open. Police arrived at the toy box and found a scene of horror. The trailer was filled with evidence of the horrible crimes David Parker Ray had been committing for years. But Cynthia wasn't the only survivor. Another woman, Kelly Garrett, also came forward. sharing her story of being held captive by Ray. With their testimony, investigators were able to piece together the full scale of Ray's crimes. The investigation into David Parker Ray led to the discovery of disturbing evidence. Police found detailed journals in which Ray described his torture methods. They also found videotapes that showed the horrific acts he committed. Ray and his accomplices, including Cindy Hendy, were arrested. But the case wasn't easy. The defense tried to argue that the women participated willingly. But with the help of Cynthia Vigil and Kelly Garrett's brave testimonies, the jury saw the truth. In 2000, David Parker Ray was convicted of kidnapping, sexual assault, and torture. He was sentenced to 224 years in prison, but Ray never served his full sentence. In 2002, just 3 years into his sentence, he died of a heart attack, leaving many unanswered questions about the full extent of his crimes. David Parker Ray's death didn't bring the closure that many hoped for. Investigators believe there are other victims, perhaps dozens, that never came forward. The vast desert surrounding Elephant Butte Lake was searched for evidence, but nothing was found. For the survivors, the emotional scars are deep. Cynthia Vigil and Kelly Garrett, along with other women who escaped or survived, have spoken out about their experiences. Their courage has inspired many, but their trauma remains. David Parker Ray's story is a reminder of the darkness that can hide in plain sight. It's also a story of survival, of how ordinary people can fight back against evil. Though the toy box killer is gone, his victims and the survivors will always carry their stories. Thank you for watching the case of the toy box killer. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future deep dives into more true crime stories like this one. Until next time, stay safe and take care.